And there might even be another category, which is someone that would own it, but they just physically can't.
You
I
can't.
would love to own dinosaur fossils. I
Yeah.
live in a New York apartment.
Right.
Where's it gonna
Right.
go?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, right. Even if you had the $6, $10 million or whatever to go
where's it
buy
gonna
a skull,
go?
like yeah, it's not really gonna fit. I get it.
So there's so many different people. Um, and then there's two or three different categories of ownership as well. Like obviously there's private ownership, which people share lots of things that they own. I share things that I own on Mantle. But then there's also public ownership, which is the public museums all over the
Mhm.
world that
Yeah,
own assets. It's people like Ken Griffin who go out and buy the best things and then just give it to museums. He announced the other
yeah,
day that he's giving Apex to the Smithsonian in New
yeah.
York for public display. Like these are effectively taxpayer owned
Hmm.
assets. Um, so everybody is every if the Smithsonian contributes uh, tax revenue to, or not, sorry, not the Smithsonian, if the Natural History Museum contributes tax revenue to New York City, effectively, every New Yorker is a collector of every
I like
item
that.
that's in that museum.
Never thought of it that way. I like it. You've
And
seen Apex. Like I read that time that the article the Times last week.
I touched Apex.
Oh, I didn't know that. You didn't tell me that part. Yeah. Was that allowed or did you sneak it when the
No, it was allowed
curator
because
had their
they
back to
had
him?
some of the scales weren't
Yeah.
actually attached because they were too fragile, and so
Yeah.
they put them on a table and they let us touch it.
I don't know if you saw that in the New York Times article. It's like some guy holding one of the scales, like leaning on a ladder. This is how they're doing it. This thing is a $44 million dinosaur fossil. And you got this guy who's like suspended on a rickety Lowe's ladder trying to put these things together. I just had assumed it was a lot more scientific. People would be in like white coats and there'd be like things suspended from the ceiling. It felt a little bit lo-fi.
Well, you know what's funny too about that is the expectation was that it would sell for like 3 to 5 million.
Yeah.
So that 44 is a retrospect number. That was
Yeah.
not a I don't
But
think
you, I
anyone
mean,
was expecting that.
you know this that better than most, certainly better than I do. But for a lot of these auctions, the slippers are the same, the Otani ball. You need two people with a lot of money who both want the same thing, and then throw out the expectations, throw out the assumptions, and that thing can go for any amount of money. I mean, is Apex worth $44 million to anybody but the two that were at the end of that bidding? Maybe not, but it doesn't matter. Two people wanted it bad enough, two entities wanted it bad enough that you could bid it up that high. I mean, that's the amazing thing about the category at that level. It's, I guess, at any level, if there's an auction, how much do the two people who want it most want it?
Yeah, and if there's two people and an institution bidding against it, like
Right.
then it just adds a whole nother layer. But yeah, you really only need two people, but anything more than two, and it's
Yeah.
just gonna go insane. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what happened. There were three bidders on Apex, at the above like the $25 million mark,
It's
and one of
crazy.
them didn't even enter until it was at like 30 something.
What do you think? That's mind-boggling to me that somebody was sitting there. And do you think that they were just waiting, that they just felt like, let's not waste our time, we'll just jump in when it seems like it's getting close? Or did the bidding frenzy tell them, hey, this thing is actually cooler than I thought. I better get in now because I wasn't that interested at $10 million, but at
No,
30, now
no,
it's me.
I don't think anyone would be that impulsive with something like
Yeah.
that. I think everybody saw it in person, everybody got the
Yeah.
tour, that sort of stuff. But I do think that they probably waited until the very last second when it was about to end. When they did like one of the final calls, they had that
Yeah.
ready. They had their person in the building ready to go.
They just
Uh,
wanted to make a splash.
yeah, yeah.
I respect it.
It's crazy though. But yeah, there's so many different types of collectors, and if I had to throw a number on it, there's probably more than 1 or 2 billion collectors worldwide of
Yeah.
something, anything. Like, you know, everyone has a collection or
Mhm.
had a collection as a kid of something,
Yeah.
and it's like one of the things that just makes everybody happy.
Yeah. I mean, we've read stats that say 60 something, 65% of adults in the US consider themselves a collector. there are obviously scales to that. There are people who have three or four things and they're a collector of that three or four, and they don't need to join an enthusiast community for it, or they're not constantly thinking about it, all the way up to people who have, dedicated every available dollar, every available minute to working on their collection. So there's a spectrum. But if that number is even close to accurate, you're talking about, I don't know, 250 plus million people who are walking around who think about this as something that they have as a passion of theirs in a way that connects people. And we say it on our end, like, your collection deserves a community. These things are a lot more fun when you're talking about it with other people, when you're learning about it with other people, that this isn't something that you're doing by yourself